Unity, the Organization of West African Trade Union, OTOA, ITUC Africa, and at that global level, NLC is an affiliate of the International Trade Union Confederation, of which I've been privileged to be elected recently to provide leadership to that organization. It's a great honor to all of us and all Nigerian workers, and it's something that we'll cherish and continue to provide quality leadership. National Delegate Conference is an important organ of our movement, where we review the activities and engagements of the preceding years. Delegate Conference also provides Congress the platform to deploy the benefit of evaluating the state of the nation, our struggle and critical self-examination to develop an agenda and mandate for the leadership in the next 4 years. The theme of this conference is towards a decade of activism for the promotion of labor unity, national rebirth, and development. This theme resonates with the effort of the NLC in the past years to foster solidarity in the labor movement and engage government and employers on values we hold dear, especially issues of good governance and protection of human and social and workers' rights. Our leadership have led frontally in many struggles to free workers from exploitation. We have promoted and defended the economic, political, and social rights and well-being of Nigerian workers, pensioners, and our trade unions. I know also that, as a matter of fact, our pensioners, various senior citizens, are here with us. Pensioners, are you here with us? We welcome you and we appreciate your very good labor that have built our country to where it is today. In defending and promoting the cause of Nigerian workers, our focus is to build workers' power through organizing. We have worked tirelessly to promote causes that can enhance the quality of life and improve the income and other working conditions of workers. We have paid close attention to workers' education through our increasingly improved education programs, especially the Rain and Harmattan schools. Our collective leadership have provided voice to the voiceless. As a matter of top priority, we have confronted the huge inequality gap in our society. We have expanded the platform of participation for our women and youth. For the first time in the history of our Congress, we have created a democratic youth structure with visible representation at the highest level of the Congress. We have also strived towards the attainment of gender equality and improvement in the condition of women in the world of work and society in general. We have encouraged our affiliates to continue to appreciate and continue to ensure that our women get the right of place, including respect for the fact that at all our levels, women must actually be accommodated. Despite the challenges that trailed the last delegate conference, which took a good part of our time and effort trying to resolve, we have kept faith with our program of returning to our founding principles, especially as inspired by our leadership retreat in Calabar and Sokoto in 2015. We have pursued our founding principle of commitment to social justice and investing in genuine struggle for workers and citizens' rights to improve working and living conditions towards earning the confidence of our members and the global trade union movement. In consonance with our team and the theme of this conference, we shall devote the next 10 years of our movement to building working class unity by bringing our various organizations one national platform so that we can speak with one loud, powerful voice. This way, we shall end the machination of our class opponents to keep us perpetually divided. We shall use the next 10 years to revive and rebrand the Labour Party into a formidable working class platform to build a movement that will strike an alternative development paradigm based on a strong developmental state as a credible alternative for national rebirth and national development, the state of the nation. Our national economy, given its vast potentials amidst diverse challenges, shows some promises in recent time. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigerian gross domestic product, GDP, grew by 1.81% a year-on-year basis in real term in the third quarter of 2018. This is slightly better than the growth of 1.17% achieved in the last quarter of 2017. The recent GDP growth and increase in internally generated revenue are signs of steady recovery of our economy from recession. Despite those results, our economy remains largely import-driven and dependent. The growth in size of our economy, the biggest in Africa, is still non-inclusive, as the gap between the rich and the poor continue to widen. Though described as a mix, our economy is essentially rent-seeking and still suffer from systemic distortion. According to the report released by Action Aid, there is a correlation between corruption and poverty in Nigeria. Nigeria scores high in Corruption Perception Index and scores low in Human Development Index, implying that because the incidences of corruption is high, investing in citizen welfare is low. The report went further to state that poverty level in some states where governors were found to be guilty of misusing and converting public funds into private use is higher than in states where governors were judicious in the use of public funds. This suggests that if stolen resources were deployed to address the various poverty challenges in the states, the poverty rate should decline. In its 2012 annual report, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission posited that the failure to deliver social services is associated with endemic problem of corruption, which has affected power supply and the collapse of infrastructures. We must continue to instill transparency and accountability in our polity at all levels. It must be a matter of priority because Nigeria is not a poor country. When you look at our resources, and in fact, human resource, we are among the best around the world. In fact, God has been so faithful to Nigeria that in all facets of development, we are not lacking in terms of resources. And I think the challenge had been how to harness the resources for the benefit of all. And therefore, going forward is for NLC and all progressive forces to continue to prioritize the issue of good governance and the fight against corruption. In this respect, we once again demand that our political elites must find a way of removing immunity against criminal prosecution, especially corruption cases for all political office holders, as it is the case around the world. We have seen around the world there is no immunity against criminal prosecution, especially corruption cases. And therefore, Nigeria cannot be an exception. And we think that we can make progress. Unemployment and unemployment in Nigeria. The need for an urgent alternative. The National Bureau of Statistics reported for the third quarter of 2018 indicates that general number of persons underemployed in the country has increased by 3.3 million, which soars to a record high of 23.0% in the third quarter of 2018. The report further indicates that the combined rate of unemployment and underemployment rose from 40% in 2017 third quarter to 43.3% in the third quarter of 2018. We should be worried that the increased pool of graduates, skilled and unskilled youth in the unemployment market, especially rural unemployment, is a time bomb. Therefore, any sack of workers under any guise, as it happens in Kaduna, can only complicate an already complicated situation. And therefore, it will be in our own enlightened interest to ensure that those workers that are working presently are not only continue to be engaged and retained, we must find ways of attending to youth unemployment in Nigeria. And the only way we can do that is to ensure that we are able to manufacture. Our industries, our manufacturing sector must have the necessary incentive for them to convert our resources into finished product that can be able to make our industries to be very creative and therefore create the necessary employment that is required for our teeming youth. Government employment alone may not be able to provide decent jobs, because what is required in this context is decent jobs, not jobs that are temporary. We want decent jobs to address the issue of youth unemployment in Nigeria. And I'm sure there is no family in Nigeria today where you don't have a retinue of unemployed youth. Most of them are trained, most of them have acquired the necessary training, most of them have gone through the four corners of our universities and tertiary institutions. But at the end of the day, there is no placement for them actually to have gainful employment. And therefore, we thought strengthening the manufacturing sector, as done in other parts of the world, will certainly address this fundamental issue. We cannot also thought of industrialization without addressing the issue of electric power supply. And we want to say categorically that the privatization of power sector in Nigeria has failed. And we should not shy away from revisiting and making sure that it's being reversed. It doesn't matter how far we have gone in the wrong direction. It is always possible and advisable to make a U-turn. Because as of today, Nigerians have continued to pay exorbitant bills, in most cases estimated bills, that they have not consumed power and they are paying and subsidizing for darkness. That cannot continue, and that cannot actually bring industrialization. I've seen recently the position of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, where they said they spend billions of naira annually to actually maintain their generators. And therefore, if we have a steady power supply, it is clear that they will deploy the money they are now spending on generators to actually create employment opportunities for larger Nigerian youth. Ajaokuta Steel Industry. Ajaokuta Steel Industry was put in place more than 40 years ago. There is no country in the world that have developed industrially without having this very important sector in place. We are aware that over $6 billion have been spent on this project. And we are also aware that only $1 million will actually put the facility into proper use. We call on government to do everything possible, because if we are to develop our rail system, if we are to continue to build our cities, if we want to be the industrial hub of the world, there is no way we can achieve that with importation of steel. We are therefore exporting our jobs and then importing steel. When we have this facility laying fallow, whatever needs to be done, it will be part of our policy engagement to ensure that the Ajaokuta steel industry is brought into full utilization. The textile industry. There was a time in Nigeria when the textile factories in Lagos, Onitsha, Kano, Zaria, Kaduna, and other places were the second largest employers of Nigeria.
Adequate compensation for all the workers and other Nigerians that have, that's for the families of those who have lost their lives in the rallies that are going on all over the country. Secondly, may I congratulate the Nigerian Labour Congress for the success recorded so far in the struggle to have a minimum wage in Nigeria. What the Constitution actually provides for, Section 16, is national minimum living wage. What has been considered is not a living wage, but at least is better than nothing. The first aspect of the struggle is being won, i.e., the National Assembly will soon pass the law. But comrade, to get the payment of the money, we would need to get organized and compare those governors who claim that they are unable to pay the minimum wage. We must compel them to pay. And I would like to advise them here to borrow a leaf from the governor of Kebbi State, who is present here. Here is a governor who has turned adversity to prosperity. In 2017, it was reported that Kebbi State earned 150 billion naira from the sale of rice. Let the other governors be challenged and embark on money generation, not cornering of money to be able to pay workers. The last point I wish to make to our Nigerian Labour Congress and all Nigerian workers. Let the 2019 general election be the last time that the elections in Nigeria, the struggle for power, will be left exclusively for different factions of the bourgeoisie, the ruling class. After this election, the Nigerian Labour Party must be reorganized so that we can take our destiny in our own hands. Viva Nigerian Labour Congress! Viva NLC! Viva the working people of Nigeria!
Activism for the promotion of labor unity, national reverse and development. Over the last 1 year, I think I'm a witness to both activism and the unity of the Nigerian labor movement, because I was privileged, courtesy of President Muhammadu Buhari, to be a party to the tripartite committee on minimum wage under the able leadership of a sterling woman, Ms. Amapepo. And what I experienced in the last 1 year was patriotism, nationalism from both states who spent over ₦1 trillion to support states to ensure that workers and pensioners and those who are late have been taken care of. But here am I, now a state governor, and maybe there's a child elsewhere that is in my situation decades ago. The child of a school teacher whose income can not meet with the family. Sitting through the tripartite meetings, all the arguments about increases in wage are compelling. You can't agree less. But I'm sure also both the labor leaders and the organized private sector, even though they will not say it, they agree with me, or they agree with us on the public sector side, can sympathize with what we are saying about ability to pay. And so what is amiss? And I kept, so when I was invited to this event, I looked at the Nigerian Labour Congress's website very, very carefully to see that why were we prioritizing only one element of workers' welfare, of course a significant one, minimum wage. What is amiss? What do we need to accelerate quicker in order to change the narrative so that workers can earn better incomes and a decent living? And I feel that we are ignoring the most fundamental thing, which is the size of our economy. And this links to borrow from Difo Adesina's comment, this links to a wider issue of globalization. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, and president before him, have about 5% of the revenue that is available to the Brazilian president, with about the same amount of population. So in 2018, the Brazilian federal budget is over $650 billion, while Nigeria's federal budget is about $30 billion. So this deserves an urgent wake-up call. The promise of globalization, where we thought countries will be turned into global neighbors with concern for each other, is not coming true. So we need to go back. The labor movement have to use their unity, as I saw it in display in negotiation for national minimum wage, to also return to the global agenda issues of unfair trade, issues of capital restriction that is limiting growth elsewhere. And more equally important, that the changing nature of work, where the world is being increasingly dominated by a few companies who does not give equality of opportunities in a global world, deserve to be looked at quickly. It's not surprising that the International Labour Organization, in a very celebrated manner in January,
Committee of NLC, the founding president of NLC, Comrade Hassan Somuno, and other past presidents here today, the representative of the Secretary General of ITUC, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the General Secretary, OATUU, the General Secretary of the Nigerian